Hi, everyone, and welcome to Unsupervised Consequences. I'm your host, Dino the Genetic Marvel, and I apologize for my tardiness. I was coming from downtown Toronto. I did some live comedy today, and it was excellent. No, it wasn't. It was mediocre, but I got to work on some jokes. So, this is a chronicle of well, I guess, my experience of changing my life. I originally started, I was over 450 pounds, and I had worked away for quite some time during the pandemic. And then last October, I started taking things really seriously, and that's when, from last October till now, I've lost 120 pounds. So in total, I'm down at least 170 pounds, if not more. And kind of this is all the things that I go through and how I've been dealing with them. So I guess to start, today we're talking about, what you want is what you're looking for is what you'll see. I have used this as an example with a lot of people, and I'll tell you it's something that I try and keep in the forefront of my mind when I'm dealing with things. Is that if you are looking for problems, you find problems. If you're looking for things that bring you joy, you'll find things that bring you joy. If you're looking to be inspired, you will be inspired. And I know how ridiculous that sounds because a lot of the times you'll say to yourselves, "No, it's not that simple." And I hate to think that it isn't because it really is. And especially when it comes to our perception, we I've said it a couple days ago, and I really do believe it is that our body really does act like a muscle. It doesn't really understand things, just wants and needs and gimme, 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 which is understandable because you know what? Our body feels great when it gets sugar and things like that that are bad for us, but we enjoy. In the same sense, our mind will play tricks on us, and it will try and convince us that we should get this and X, Y, Z, and all those kind of things. But I digress. The idea is that if we fight against those tendencies, thoughts, or perceptions with a habit, then we find that we can really make changes in our lives. Now, for myself, I've always had a bad habit of looking at things with the most negative outcome and then using logic to come down to what's reasonable. Now, it's not always a bad thing because what it does is it prepares me for the eventuality or what may happen. Um, if any of you have seen my previous show, I explained that right after the first episode, so the second day, um, my brother passed away. He was 2 years older than me. It was quite unexpected, of course, and it was very hard to hear. But when my brother called me about it, he called me and he said, he goes, "Hey, give me a call back. It's an emergency." So my immediate thought was one of my older brothers, who's 10 years older, or maybe something had happened to my mom. She had fallen down. And when he told, and that's how I prepared myself because those could be the worst possible things, right? Um, when he told me that, I was totally blindsided. It was difficult. So, in the same sense, if we prepare ourselves for some sort of information or knowledge or experience, um, a lot of times it's what we'll get out of a situation, which happens. But the specific key there, and I think that's what we tend to forget, is that if we're looking for a specific thing, that's what we get. So if we're thinking, oh, this is going to be a negative outcome, we'll find a way to make it a negative outcome. If we think it's going to be good news, we'll find a way to make it good news. It's one of those things that we do have that ability. We do have the framework to position our own perception when it comes to uh, dealing with situations. And that's a unique environment to be in because that power lies just right there in the palm of our own hands. And we don't realize, we don't think that it's that simple. When really, I personally have seen situations where, like today, I was doing comedy, and people had a perception. There was a gentleman who was thought he was being funny, being part of the show. He was not. He was being a goof, a child, and a fool. It's fine. His friends even kind of were like, "Hey, man, stop it. Calm down. Stop it. Quiet down." Now, I don't know if maybe there were other indulgences at play or what was happening. But as soon as I was on stage, I had to abandon what I was going to do specifically so I could talk to him. And I just said, "Hey, just shut your mouth." And I also made fun of him because he was wearing flip flops to a place of business, which I'm like, that's not. It's not summertime. It's not the day. It's a nighttime event. You should wear shoes. That's my personal opinion, and whether you like it or not. And he took offense to that and he left. And I did that specifically for the rest of the show to go well, and it did. It actually did. We got some quite good laughs and enjoyable sets, and it was very, very worth it. But that's the thing is when you have a perception where like, I'm a great time. No, you're a pain in the ass to everyone around you. And that's the whole thing is taking a critical look at ourselves and what we do isn't necessarily the worst thing we can do. We want to do it with the idea of growth, that we're going into a certain situation, that we're looking for the positives, and we're looking for the positives so that we can handle the negatives. We're not looking for the negatives then to excuse the positives. That doesn't make sense. It's backwards, right? There's no way to excuse the negative. There's only a way that we can either tolerate it, we can accept it, or we can try and change. It's a fair point. It's a fair establishment of how the human experience is. So if we stand there and we'll apologize, I'm very parched. So if we stand there and make the assumption or the statement, everyone's going to love what we do. Maybe it's possible. I went up on stage and I got a few laughs. It was very enjoyable. But was it uh, the best work I've done? No. Was it the worst? Still no. But it was something. And it was work for me. It's practice. That's the idea. So if I come off the stage and I go, "Oh man, it sucked. It's horrible," that's not. There's no way that that's going to go well. And there's a new, uh, I guess, generation of comedians that are coming around and they're trying to be positive. Like, hey, you did great. And I'm like, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. I'm like, well, I tried. And that idea of being positive, even if it's not the most accurate statement or maybe a little bit of a stretch, people appreciate kindness. And a lot of times, I know there was a saying going around where it's like, "Hey, being kind doesn't cost you a thing." And of course, as is the eventuality of people, someone says, "Well, you know how much it costs to be an asshole? Nothing." So, um, the burden of our experiences lands on us. And I think a lot of times, especially in this day and age, we look to point a finger at somebody else. And I was raised with the idea was if you point one finger, there's four pointing back at you. Very simple. But it's an accurate statement, and it's something that always resonated with me because there are times when we can play the victim. There's times we are the victim. When I had my accident in October, I got just demolished by the other driver. I was 100% the victim, and people cared for all of about 10 minutes, and then they didn't. It's not their job. There is no reason why you have to be caring about other people. The only reason to be caring about other people is for goodness sake. That's all. So understanding the perception that we're actually in charge of our mood and able to create a certain amount of focus and understanding gives us the ability to push forward with our own mm, personal experience or and personal development. Because a lot of the times, if we've heard the statement that if you're not moving forward, you're falling back. And I myself have felt that way many a times. I kind of feel like that right now because there's a lot of new young people who are doing comedy, and I'm still trying to work out how to do comedy. Um, you know, I'm funnier as a human being or a character in a conversation as opposed to on stage, and I'm trying to bridge that gap. But that's a level of experience, and if I don't practice, that'll never come to be. So I have to practice, work, and try. That's the deal. But if I went out there and just tried to propagate the idea that, oh, well, it's because everyone's against me or people hate me and da, 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 da," sure, maybe accurate. People have more than enough reason to hate me, and that's totally fine. That's up to them. But that's not what's holding me back. The only thing holding me back is my own development, my own understanding. And that's why it's important to keep focus. So I'll leave it there. What we want to do is make sure we keep focus on what it is we desire and what our goals are. So we're not sidetracked with the ideas that it's, well, someone else's fault, or really that we're just being sidetracked by the entire universe. Something to consider. So, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I am trying to grow it and get monetized. So, by all means, if you think this is beneficial to anyone, feel free to comment, subscribe, like the video, or even share it with a friend. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. So, feel free to leave them in the comment. In the meantime, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow.